Because think about it. You know, if you do believe in a high-end XRP price, XRP goes to 100, 200, 300, $400, you know, it's sitting at $1,000 one day, and you were able to accumulate 10,000 XRP as just a small bag example, you're looking at what is that? A couple $1,000,000, right? 5% on a couple $1,000,000 and you're retired. That leads me over here onto XRP today. We have some huge XRP announcements. I was going to play some video clips from this Bermuda digital finance forum that took place, where they announced that the entire government infrastructure of Bermuda is going to launch on the Stellar blockchain, which is huge.
Has certainly been doing the serious work of deploying blockchain infrastructure in sovereign context for years. This is the first time that we have Stellar, and I'm grateful that you are sponsoring the Digital Finance Forum. Tell us what is important to Stellar Development Foundation, and why Bermuda, and why now?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Stellar is a network that was purpose-built for regulated finance. And I think we have been really focusing on this over the course of the last 12 years. The design of the network was really focusing on being able to first make sure that you can transmit a payment anywhere in the world at as low cost as possible, while making sure that we built in all the right features into the set to make institutional issuers and others very, very comfortable with the network. That goes from things like asset tokenization features, the ability to freeze, claw back, all of these things on the network that really make it super viable and valuable, particularly as we start engaging with institutions, but also regulators across the board. And so what I think has been really powerful is, you know, that has allowed us to be the first in a lot of different things that have, I think, a lot of relation. We're the first network to work on deploying a universal basic income solution, which we did in the Marshall Islands. We were the first blockchain to work with the first regulated money market fund through our friends here at Franklin Templeton on Stellar as well. We've worked with the German government. We've worked with the United Nations. We've worked with the World Bank on deploying a lot of different payment structures that required all of that. And so that's really been the key. But what's so fascinating to me about Bermuda, and really just a tremendous job to you and everyone here, is this is where I see the convergence of the technology, the regulation, and the politics, which makes this just a phenomenal place to start thinking about what's next as it relates to digital finance. So again, we are so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, so they literally announced that Bermuda will begin moving key payment financial services activity on chain onto the Stellar network. So that was announced this past week. And they took this, I don't know why they scrubbed this video from the internet. You can see the link here inside the CYPRX. Let me go back. You can see the link here inside the CYPRX Discord. This is that video. But when you click on it and you go to YouTube, they took it down. So I'm happy that I was able to pull some clips from it before they took it down. I wanted to play so many more clips from it today, but yeah, unfortunate fate for this video, which leads me over here. So Sandy Call said this, that we are literally building peer-to-peer networks that will allow each and every single individual to do things that only the most sophisticated institutions have traditionally been able to do. And this will jump into our yield conversation today. Aqua, take a second and listen to what she says here.
And to me, these technologies represent the ultimate expression of that. We are literally building peer-to-peer networks that allow every one of you in this room to do things that only the most sophisticated institutions have traditionally been able to do with their portfolios. And to me, this is the excitement and the promise of this space. I agree with all the points that Anthony made about why this opens up asset management in a new way. But what it also opens up is this idea that I should get the utility from every asset that I own, that I should be able to use every asset that I own to earn more, to get more yield, to earn fees, right? Every asset I own should work for me. And I think that these technologies are what is creating that opportunity.
I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but over 2 years now, we have been saying this and preaching this in so many different ways. And here we are, Sandy Call on stage, saying exactly what we've been saying very loudly on X and on YouTube, again, for over the past 2 years now. Like, this is amazing to be aligned with this message that she just delivered on stage, bro.
I told everybody that one day yield is going to be the new sexy. You know, it's not going to be a laughing matter anymore. It's going to be, if you're not earning yield, you're not competing properly. If you know, these bullish moon boys that are on the internet, the ones that throw out the $1,000 XRP price predictions of the 4-digit blah, 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 they're honestly just misleading the masses as to the digital wealth that you could really accomplish if you understand collateral and you understand how to lend and how to borrow and how to keep your wealth. Like, honest to God, anybody that thinks they're going to survive selling their digital assets in the future for fiat currency, you gotta really start to pay attention to who you're listening to, because when say for example XRP does go to whatever, some high valuation that most people think it's going to go to, and then you sell it for fiat, um and then let's say it keeps going up, you're screwed. Like, you're so screwed. You're going to get stuck back in the traditional financial system that's going to absolute crap. And you're gonna miss maintaining and growing your generational wealth, because you were manipulated for so many years to believe that you had to sell a utility asset like XRP for fiat to survive, when you don't. When in reality now we're seeing platforms where we can lend out our XRP, earn yield on it, borrow against it, and loop yield strategies to earn passive income and possibly even retire off of our passive income if you have enough digital assets like XRP or XLM or HBAR or many others that are now seeing lending and borrowing capabilities. This was just announced from Upshift. Now, I'm not in support of any of these platforms. Always do your own, personal risk assessment and understand that there is risk involved in these yield strategies. It is still early days. And in some of these yield strategies, we are not in the Wealth 28 Club participating outside of some test amounts until regulatory clarity is fully implemented. But nonetheless, it's just great to see these things starting to develop. So Upshift announced this today. MXRPY Vault is now open for deposits, and it looks like this is going to start to compete with some of the yield that Soil just launched, bro. Because it says right here that they're aiming in this vault for around 4% yield on XRP.
And that's what is that XRP5? So is it like a wrapped version?
Yeah, I believe it's the wrapped. It's like the whatever they have going on with Flare and their entire like wrapped version of XRP or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But still, nonetheless, it's good to see a mid-range single-digit yield on XRP, because that outcompetes a lot of other yield-bearing platforms that have launched for XRP as of recent.
Yeah, I feel like that's gonna go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like that's going to be a conversation, in the future with XRP holders, as far as like, hey, I'm in a vault natively on the XRPL, and it's like, oh, I'm in this other vault, with this bridge, and it's wrapped, so I got XRP Fi in this vault, because the native vaults were all filled up. I definitely feel like that's going to be a conversation in the future amongst holders and just new crypto topics to talk about and shit, because these vaults are gonna fill up. These, like, they have caps. Like, it's not like fucking unlimited.
I think everybody, and again, not financial advice, this is just kind of what I'm doing personally with my mentality around my digital assets, is I'm starting to not only diversify amongst the digital assets that I hold, but within my digital asset holdings. Take XRP for example. I have my long-term bags that will sit in cold storage that I will never touch. That's like my safety bag. Let's just use an example. It's say 50,000 XRP. It's 50,000 XRP that will never reach cold storage. It's tucked away. It'll never see the day of light. And it's just my oh shit bag in case something happens and a platform goes down or a DeFi protocol goes bust or something. It's just my fallback bag. I don't day trade it. I don't swing trade it. It's just sitting there with an LLC and a freaking trust attached to it for my kids when, I disappear. It's never touched. But then I'll also, as of recent, I've been accumulating more XRP that I'm going to specifically be utilizing for lending and borrowing, that I'm utilizing on the Metallicus ecosystem. So every single time, every single week, I'll put 100, 200, 300, 400, whatever amount of dollars into XRP and lend it out on the Metallicus ecosystem, which is a BSA compliant DeFi protocol. earning yield, even though it's a small sliver of around 4 or 0.4 to 0.6% yield. It's still there. It's earning, it's accumulating rewards. And with those rewards every single day, I can take those rewards, compound them. But then also, I'm now accumulating XRP for vault strategies, right? So I'm not only diversified in my crypto portfolio, but I'm also diversified in my asset specific assets as well. So I have XRP that I'm day trading. I have XRP that I'm bag holding. I have XRP that I'm lending and borrowing with. And then I have XRP now that I'm going to accumulate for vault strategies. So, really start to consider thinking about how you're going to manage your digital wealth moving forward. It is not about to just be, I'm going to hodl, become successful long term, because people like myself who are thinking about these strategies, and many others like Aqua in the Wealth 28 Club and everybody inside the CYPRX community, we're going to be constantly stacking yield, learning about these looping strategies, maximizing our yield potential, and just stacking up those bags, while
Yeah.
while of course mitigating that risk by being diversified in each asset.
Facts, bro. And being aligned with the compliant protocols, I don't know what that's going to look like once regs come. Like if they're going to drop the hammer so hard that these non-compliant platforms are just really not going to be able to exist, or is there still going to be like some wild west shit going on in the background, even though regs and compliance are here? It's going to be interesting.
I think that there's always going to be bad actors, because if you look at the traditional financial system today, there's still bad actors that wiggle their way through misalignment with regulation, and eventually they get caught and they go bust, and that will always exist. But what I think will happen with the existing DeFi protocols that aren't KYC compliant or don't have, regulatory, capabilities baked in, is they will have a window after regulatory clarity comes and standards are set in place. They'll have a window to adjust and adhere to those regulations if they want to remain competitive, if they want to remain adaptive to the evolving ecosystem. They'll have some time to adjust their platform, integrate KYC, AML compliance features, to kind of adapt as the environment changes, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It definitely does.
Like, I don't think it's just going to be like one day a regulation's going to drop and then these DeFi protocols are just going to disappear. No, a regulation will drop and then the founders of that DeFi protocol will have to make a decision whether or not they want to comply with the standards, whether or not they want to continue to, participate in illicit finance, or whether or not they want to just, drop their DeFi protocol and drop their project and tell everybody, hey, look, we're going to shut this down because we're not willing to comply or whatever. I don't know. But
yeah.
That is why before all of this, what are we doing in the Wealth 28 Club? We're focusing our attention now on compliant ecosystems, compliant DeFi protocols, Soil being one of them. Soil right now is one of the only compliant DeFi protocols offering for the first time ever a high-end single-digit yield on XRP. And they just went live on this yesterday, May 14th. So I want Aqua to go ahead and bring up his screen. It says here in an announcement from Soil, we are live, 5% fixed APR on XRP all the way through June, native on the XRPL, no bridges, no wrapping, institutional grade XRP yield is here. Now, I do want to ask you, Aqua, what's your opinion on the competitiveness of what you kind of mentioned earlier? How, do you think that, I mean, I know me personally, I'm not going to want a wrapped version of XRP. I'm not going to want to have to bridge it or do anything like that. I want it straight through, and native on the XRPL, and I want to earn yield in XRP, no wrap version where I have to go and I have to swap wrapped XRP for the native XRP. This is phenomenal. I wonder if there's going to be a competitive landscape and what this kind of means for, like, for example, the Flare network and the Flare ecosystem, where it's bridges and wrapping and all this stuff. What's your take on that, if anything at all?
Bro, I feel like Soil is here to major box out all these other protocols that involve bridges. I mean, bridges are where the main hacks have happened in crypto since the beginning of bridges. So the fact that soil is native and they're honing in, no bridges, no wrapping, institutional grade XRP yield is here. Like, just for me, my preference is going to be soil at the moment, or any other protocol that's going to allow me to get my XRP working for me natively and not have to send it here and wrap it in this vault and then take it over here. And now I can finally use it. There's just too much going on with that whole process. And I don't know, maybe in the future, Flare can figure something out where, you know, they're not using bridges, you know, potentially, who knows? I'm not involved in their closed door meetings, but right now I don't feel safe using bridges, to be real with you. So, yeah.
Yeah, bridges or wrap versions. Honest to God, I stay away from all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is crazy, man. If they could maintain an APR of, especially a fixed APR, like it says, right, where you jump into this vault and the APR doesn't fluctuate like it does on a lending protocol, it's fixed. You're going to be guaranteed that 5% for that allotted amount of time that you're allocated to the vault. You know, think about the numbers, guys and gals, in the future, because these are all futuristic strategies. These things are happening now and they're very risky. And I get that, right? People don't want to dabble into them because they don't want to lose their XRP. But nonetheless, you should be learning about these protocols. You should be testing them out with test amounts, 1 to 2, 3 XRP deposited, just to play around with the mechanics of the ecosystem and actually entering into the vault, withdrawing out of the vault, and just seeing what that process of connecting a wallet looks like with these small micro amounts, so you get the consistency. Because think about it, you know, when if you do believe in a high end XRP price, XRP goes to $100, $200, $300, $400, you know, it's sitting at $1,000 one day, and you were able to accumulate 10,000 XRP as just a small bag example. You're looking at what is that? A couple $1 million, right? 5% on a couple $1 million and you're retired.
Yeah. Facts, bro. Facts. Yeah. 5% on 10 million is some serious money. I mean, even 5% on 5 million, half of that is some serious money. So.
And if you look at the strategies of all the wealthy people in the world, any wealthy person will tell you, even the high net worth people in my circle tell me, look, once you surpass $5 million, making money is easy, because all you have to do is take that $5 million and earn 3% on it per year.
Yeah.
And you're making multiple 6 figures in
5%,
passive income.
5% on 5 million is 250,000. It's $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
You
know, divided by 12 is a couple stacks per month.
Yeah. 100. And,
you know,
and the great thing is, it's an asset that's going to continue to go up in value, you know? So
we are entering into this era where influencers that keep shilling people these high-end price predictions and getting people to believe that selling their utility assets for fiat currency are going to eventually fade away. And people like myself and Akko, who have constantly been trying to teach people strategy on maintaining digital wealth over the long term, percentages, yield looping, lending, borrowing, day trading, and accumulating wealth, are going to be the ones who survive long term. Because there is going to be a day, very unfortunate to say this, that we are going to see some massive utility price appreciation across a multitude of different assets. Who knows which ones they're going to be? We can hope that it's XRP and XLM and HBAR and Quant and Canton and XDC and all these utility assets. We can hope, but who knows which ones it's going to be? But the ones that it is, and the people that sell those assets for fiat, you know, they're going to get trapped in this. It's kind of sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, you're gonna have a 2 to 3 year luxury lifestyle that's gonna last you 2 to 3 years, and then because you didn't put those assets to work to create cash flow, the fancy lifestyle will only last you so long. So
it's like understanding what you're really investing in, and that it's not just for price appreciation, it's for asset mobility, asset utilization, and like Sandy Call said, really getting every asset that you have put to work for you, even the cash that you have, right? Let's say, for example, you do want to sell for fiat. You don't have to sell. You can lend out your XRP, borrow up to 60 to 70% of that valuation against it, and then split that bag in half in stable coins, go and spend whatever it is that you want to spend, and then loop the other half for additional yield to pay back your loan on XRP to get your original XRP back so that you never have to sell it.
Yeah, bro.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm in the process right now. I've been documenting the whole entire thing. I lent out on the Metallicus ecosystem. I put myself in debt, so I borrowed against my assets, and I'm right now in the process of paying back my loan with my yield. And so I lent out, I think it was like 15 grand, and I borrowed 8 grand against it, or I think at the time it was maybe 9,500 bucks. And with the yield that I'm earning on the assets that I borrowed because I put them to work, bro, my the only amount that I have to pay back on my loan now is at 8 grand. So I've already paid back $1,500 of my borrowed principal with just yield.
Yeah, bro. These are the new financial weapons, that the ones that are aligned and educated on what these weapons can do. Man, a lot of us gonna create some generational wealth and turn on some faucets that can be turned on for quite some time, you know.
Do you want to share your screen and go over the soil platform real quick and some of the things that we discussed in yesterday's private Zoom call and kind of
Yeah,
just
Let me
things to
share.
pay attention to?
Yeah. You see my screen?
Yes.
Is it my entire screen or is it just the? Yeah, okay,
Looks
cool.
like it's just the soil.
Yeah. So, yeah, here it is. You know, I feel like Soil really did a good job making things very simple to the eye to understand, you know, what you're looking at. So many protocols in DeFi that make you kind of go cross-eyed and shit. But shout out to these guys making it very, very simple. So as you guys can see here, I'm in a couple of the vaults, actually 3 of the vaults actually now. I'm in the Liquid Vault, I'm in the Credit Plus Vault, and I'm now in the XRP Vault. And as you guys can see here, you know, these are just test amounts. This is what, 99 bucks, earning 5%. This is my accrued yield since the lifetime I've deployed, which is 92 cents. And then same thing here on this $99 in the Credit Plus Vault. My accrued interest is $1.54 in RLUSD. Now, where I got really excited was just 2 days ago, or yesterday, Thursday, when the XRP Vault finally launched. It was supposed to launch the end of last month, but for whatever reason, it got pushed out. And here we are, though, right? So, what the most exciting part about this, though, is that your yield is going to get paid in XRP. So I don't have any accrued yield just yet. I want to say this thing should update in the next couple hours. In the next couple hours, it will be over 24 hours that I've been in this vault testing it out. And so, yeah, just giving you guys all a heads up, your accrued yield is not, it's not accruing. I mean, it's accruing in real time, but it's not going to update and reflect the actual yield that you've earned in real time. It's going to update every 24 hours. So, yeah, a couple hours, this will look different. But basically, you know, I'm excited about this because it's just like, yo, like, and even though like I'm not going to be deploying every single XRP in my bag onto this platform, you know, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit here, sprinkle a little bit there, you know, have some XRP in this wallet, have some XRP in that wallet. So you're not having all your eggs in one basket. But I feel like this is major. Like if any of these Moon Boy numbers come to fruition for XRP, $100, $500, $1,000, whenever that day comes, you know, it's going to feel great to, you know, have a portfolio that was earning you more XRP, that your XRP, some of your XRP was earning you more XRP. You know what I mean? And it's just like to have more XRP because of this DeFi tool. This is major. Like if you go back in time and it's just like all these people who owned Bitcoin at $1 or Ethereum at 75 cents or 50 cents. And if they had the option to put that to work back in the days to where they could have more Ethereum, more Bitcoin, and then fast forward to where we're at today, you know, it's this is a wise move in my opinion, right? It's not financial advice. I would never say deploy your whole bag. Yeah, pretty much, you know, I'll tell you guys this too. Your yield, you can't touch your yield until you exit the vault. So that's probably the one downside I would say to this passive income machine. To get the actual accrued yield, you would have to exit the vault, gather your yield, and then you could probably redeploy into the vault. But I feel like there's going to be some risk with that because these vaults have caps as well, right? So something to possibly ask these guys in the future, if like, hey, can you guys at least unlock or give us the ability to have access to the accrued yield, and the principal amount can still stay locked up for forever, but at least let me get the accrued yield so I can actually create a passive income stream, either daily or weekly, whatever you decide. That's the beautiful part about DeFi. You get to make your own rules. But when you click on these vaults, right, just giving you guys a heads up, if you guys do decide to deploy into these, into the XRP vault, just know that to exit your XRP, you do need to give them a 40-day notice. So basically, I would see, I haven't gone through it yet. I am going to put another test amount and then exit it to see what that whole process is like. But if I could just guess based on, other experiences that I have that have similar criteria, I would say you basically probably come in, unlock your vault, and then there's some sort of countdown that's counting down the 40 days. And then by the last day, you can exit the vault and then do whatever you want. But again, once you exit the vault, I feel like you're going to be risking potentially not being able to get back into the vault because, again, these vaults have caps. These vaults are not unlimited amounts, right? But yeah, so, I don't know if you have any questions. I have said a lot, but yeah, I don't know if you have any questions or that you feel like you should ask for, the viewers to listen, Cypress. But I feel like that's the one thing that I want to ask these guys over at Soil, and hopefully they can change this, because it even says it here too, designed for long-term XRP holders seeking passive income. So yeah.
No, but maybe we can get them on a podcast in the future, as you said that you were in contact with them, and we can ask them. I wrote down 3 things. So just maybe even we could go through to elaborate some more questions if we could get them on a podcast. But 3, real-time yield accrual visual. So like what I really like about the Metallicus ecosystem is in real time, if you really wanted to sit there and watch your bag increase, you can, because once you deploy on the lending protocol on loan, you instantly start to see how much yield you're accruing right there in real time. And it shows you, like, even if it's a small sliver of a penny, you can actually see your figure going up in value. That's something that I like. The second thing I wrote down is if they could, or explain why there isn't daily yield compounding for withdrawal. So like why, if you have $1 million in the RLUSD vault earning, what is it, 8%, that's 80 grand a year. But it would be even crazier if every 24 hours, like how on XPR staking, for example, every 24 hours, you can take out your yield from your stake, and you can compound that. That would be an amazing feature. Even if you couldn't put that back into the vault, just having the ability to access that daily yield would be powerful, because what you could do with that daily yield, you could pay bills with it, you could take it, you could loop it into more DeFi strategies. So maybe we ask them if that's going to be a feature that they're going to look to improve in the future, or add. And then the last thing that you just mentioned was that countdown for exit. We're assuming that they have a countdown for exit. I'm assuming you'll find that out to be the case if they have that. But if they don't, once you go through that process, adding that visual for kind of just like, it's almost like a what's that word I'm looking for? It like calms you, like how much you have left on your withdrawal before it deposits back into your wallet, which would be a cool feature.
Yeah, no, definitely. Most definitely.
And then I would definitely like for them, if we could get them on a podcast, to explain more in detail about how they adhere to regulatory compliance. Because if you go to their homepage, they mention that they're the only, in all caps, regulated DeFi protocol on the XRPL.
Yeah.
So I would like for them to touch on that, and then maybe go into a little bit more detail on how and what they've seen in terms of other protocols, and maybe why they're not compliant, and if they see other protocols that are on the XRPL right now becoming compliant, or what that process was like for them.
Yeah. And for the people who are asking in the comments what wallet I'm using to connect, I'm using the Zayman wallet. The Zayman wallet has been super smooth for me with accessing soil and moving and grooving on it. So
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing I was gonna mention on is just consider this, right? Even if you're not going to deploy on these protocols right now because you're still in this kind of like either learning phase or you still think DeFi is too risky, that's great. But think about yourself or think about people like Aqua said that invested in Bitcoin back when it was, I don't know, less than $1,000, let's just say. And when it went to $10,000, or I'll use myself as an example. I sold most of my Bitcoin. I had over 7 Bitcoins. And when it went to like 31K, I remember I sold it because I thought, oh, this is it, 31K Bitcoin. And I made a big chunk of change off that compared to where I had bought it at. I bought most of my Bitcoins when they were like around 2,000 to 3,000 bucks. So it going to 30K was a big jump for me. But at the time, there was obviously, of course, no lending and borrowing protocols for Bitcoin. Now, fast forward to today, had there would have been, I would have loved to hold on to my Bitcoin and just lend it out and borrow against it and still have that like 7.5 Bitcoin that I had at the time, instead of having sold it all for 30K. Now imagine that I know for a fact I'm not about to make that same mistake with all the XRP I have. There's no way in heck if XRP goes to $100, I'm selling it for fiat. If I need cash, I'm just going to lend it out, borrow up to 70% against it, and then hold that XRP for the long term in case it goes to $1,000.
shit, I would say in case. I mean, if it goes to 100, eventually it probably will go to 1,000. So, and we want to hang on to these bad boys. You feel me?
So I just, there's a mindset shift happening. It's not just that the masses are adopting crypto, but it's also that the people that are already having their foot in crypto over the past couple of years also need to have a mindset shift with what's going on in the digital asset space. We're entering into an era of tokenization where like real estate, gold, art, all these things are coming on chain. Previously invest or uninvestable asset classes that were, unavailable to the average retail investor with a, let's say net worth of less than 6 figures, wasn't able to buy sophisticated art pieces or invest in, gold because it's, what, 4,000 some odd dollars per ounce. Well, now you're able to buy micro amounts of gold and then earn yield. So if you only have $50, there's platforms out there right now where you can buy $50 worth of gold and you can go and earn 10% on that $50 because it's tokenized. There's places right now where you can go and you can invest in tokenized real estate. Maybe you will never have the proper credit credentials or the income to get approved by a bank to get a loan to invest in real estate. Well, right now, if you work at McDonald's, you can go and you can take a sliver of your paycheck. Maybe it's $100 extra per week that you want to invest in a piece of real estate on a platform like Lofty, and you can earn 8% on a freaking real estate property that's not even yours, but it's just the property that you like, that you see is performing well, and you want to put that extra $100 to work to earn you some extra income. You can, and that takes a mindset shift. It takes a knowledge curve, and those things is what's happening right now. And so that's why we built the Wealth 28 Club. That's what we talk about all the time in the CYPRX community. And it will behoove you guys to really start to shift that mindset from price appreciation, bull run, sell it all, become wealthy, to keep your wealth, hone into your digital assets, get everything working for you that's managed in a wallet ran by 2 or 3 AI agents in the future that deposit passive income back into your spending digital wallet under your business LLC, so you don't get taxed. Like there's so many strategies that if you're not locked in right now, oh man.
Yeah. Bro, I would ask you too this, bro. Like, would you say, take away that you do day trading, right? Just say that you do DeFi and that's it. Would you say your portfolio would be more today with participating in DeFi as opposed to just hodling, watching YouTube videos, paying attention to different posts on X, which portfolio would be more? Would it be your portfolio of just watching stuff, consuming stuff, and never putting your assets to work? Or would your portfolio be worth more by
Oh, bro.
participating in DeFi?
That's literally the easiest answer ever. Like, honest to God, I'm super stoked about this next upturn in the market because this entire downturn, bro, the number of assets that I have literally doubled because of DeFi. Like, especially in the Metallicus ecosystem right now, y'all, oh my God, I have HBAR working for me, XLM working for me, XRP working for me, XPR working for me, Metal working for me. Like, the amount of assets that I've accumulated, not the value, the amount, the number of XLMs, the number of HBARs, the number of XRPs, the number of XPRs has gone up significantly. So when price appreciates again in value, my block space, the share of block space that I have has increased. And so the value of my portfolio is going to freaking surpass where it was at when the market was at its last high valuation at 4.27 trillion or whatever it was. It's going to be ridiculous this next upturn.
Yeah, it is, bro. Yeah, it is. Let's go, bro. Let's go.
You know?